The City of North Charleston has targeted $25 million for sidewalks and other infrastructure improvements around the city. Today, I talk one-on-one with North Charleston City Councilwoman Virginia Jamison for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook.
Councilwoman Virginia Jamison, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, Quintin. It's a pleasure to be here with you to talk about the issue that we're going to talk about.
Absolutely, and I wanted to talk to you about, obviously, sidewalks. This is the headline from the Post-Inquiry, I believe October 13th. Ricky Dennis reporter said this: North Charleston targets $25 million for sidewalks and other infrastructure improvements. The article goes on to say this: the money will be split into $2.5 million for each of North Charleston's 10 city council districts. How many dollars do you expect your district to receive?
$2.5 million. And again, as we look at $2.5 million for sidewalks and a blighted area, and not blighted community, but blighted area as far as roadways, then that's not a lot of money. But we're glad to have it, okay? We're glad to have it.
What would be the ideal square feet of sidewalk needed for your district right now?
Well, I don't have the square footage for every possible entity, but I know the ones that the areas of connectivity that we have selected, it's going to take $2.8 million. So we're still happy that we're getting this money. We have looked closely at connectivity. How do we connect the dots? How do we provide some walking spaces from a residential area to a park to a bus, the traffic, right, to bus services and all of those things. Just wish we could get a grocery store on that side of the road so that we won't have to cross the road. But as time goes on, I am sure that the focus will be on quality of life and livability.
What is the quality of life in your district, Ms. Jamison?
Excellent quality of life. And again, I am speaking for the masses. There's always going to be some naysayers, but I speak for the masses. Everybody is very happy about a lot of things. There's some chagrin about a few things. Sure. So we work towards improving, things that we have and to improving things that we are expecting.
What are the things that you have, and what are those things that you are expecting in the next 5 years?
Well, Quintin, I'm going to be around for another 2 years, and I hope we get it in 2 years I'll take that back. I may run again. I'm not sure. But Quintin, we're looking at what is the BRT going to bring to that area? Is it going to be connectivity, or is it going to be disaster? And I hope we're checking all of the boxes on that. We're looking at that grocery store that's much needed for that area. It's a big area, and right now we have grocery stores, but they're so far apart. I don't think we're a food desert yet, but with the number of people, we could probably be a supply and demand desert. And we're looking at that. We're looking at quality of life. With these sidewalks, again, the staff and I sat down and we looked at how do we get connectivity. I'll tell you about one area that I didn't even need to look at. I just knew that it was gonna be done, and it's Otranto and Deerwood. Oh, yeah. And you probably saw it in that article with Mr. Dennis.
Yes, ma'am.
I felt so bad about conditions on that has existed on that roadway for a lot. Now let me be clear. We have city roads, yes, and we have state roads. Most of the roads in their parks are state roads. Okay, so that kind of connection has not been there, but we have drainage ditches on those roads and that's state roads, which is kind of worrisome, and no walking paths or anything. So this is something that as soon as they said $2.5 million, I knew that money was going to go in Deerwood. we had put in some sidewalk on Deerwood, but it was all the way at the other end. Rather than bringing it from Otranto to Fernwood,
Right.
they did it from Fernwood. I mean, we call it the sidewalk. So I am so impressed with our staff and how we work together. And a lot of times we go back and we look again to see what else we can do. And people are concerned about sidewalks. That is a safety issue that should not have been ignored by anyone.
How long was that ignored, particularly in your district?
Well, the Deerwood community started back and it's been long before 1945. One of my very dear friend who's gone home to be with the Lord, you know, she had the history book. Matter of fact, she shared one with me, and I like to share it with the city. 1945. So in 1945, this was like cow pastures. Okay, there was people just owned big plots of land, and then it evolved, and then it started getting some. You know, like subdivisions, and they have different subdivisions in Deer Park. So the history of that community is so unreal. It reminds me of the Livelihood community and how it evolved. Again, before we became a city, again, the responsibility was with the county and the state. And I think something may have gone awry, you know, representation, whatever, are people just speaking up for what their needs are. So, but we're back. And we're going to continue to press for livability and quality of life. Those are the things that I care about. All of the growth that we have seen in our city has not been meshed so that we would have that quality of life for everyone. Well, we're getting there.
Getting there. What has been the growth in your district over the past 4 years since you've been in office?
As far as the number of people coming to live in District 3, I think it's been astronomical. No, I'm just kidding. We have grown exponentially because we do have some more of R1 homes.
Yes.
And of course we have the apartment complexes that have grown also, and they've had a big changeover, a lot of rules and regulations. We have had a lot of, I would say, seniors, citizens going home to be with the Lord, and then their children who are already established somewhere else, they're not wanting to come to, well, they may want to come to Charleston, but the time frame is not there yet. So now they're renting these homes, very nice homes. So we've seen a big changeover in that. I'll tell you the one area that has impacted our community, District 3, but it's really District 2, is the New Ryder Road area.
Oh, yeah.
That is where we have the concentrated noise. That is the beginning of the corridor of noise. So of course, these homes and the people that bought the homes were promised barrier walls for reduction of the noise, but we haven't gotten it in 10 years. So what is happening? These are becoming rental properties also. So it's changing the dynamics of District 3, District 2 is bordering, and District 7. So that's where we are right now.
I want to get back to that in just a second, but you talk about $2.8 million that you really, really need. How many grants have you applied for?
I have not applied for any grants. The city as a whole, we have a grant writer. I have spoken with someone at the county about the noise reduction grants, but I really haven't spoken with anybody in North Charleston about grants. It has been mentioned, and I really am not sure you know, the grants that we do go after, and I think grants are great. We have retention ponds that need a grant, and you know all about this. So these are things that are really, really important. And I'm going to express my concerns about grant writing, and it's not taking It's not taking anything from the table or from the American people. It's really adding to the American people, because we know that over a year's time that a lot of monies that have been set aside for grants,
Right.
for different programs are not used. So we could probably go after a lot of things that we have not gone for.
Wow. And I'm in your area all the time, so I see what's going on there. But how many permits would the city need from the DOT for sidewalk installation on those roads, state roads?
Well, right now the mayor is in the process of getting a MOU, a memorandum of understanding, with DOT. Hopefully that's gonna, kind of give us a broader hand in doing these, the install of the sidewalks. Hopefully that's going to be a paramount piece of everything that we do.
Sure.
Is getting the state to allow us to do things. We have state rules and we have city rules. The state rule supersedes the city rule.
Yes, ma'am. Well, let me ask you this. How many curb extensions do you want to add to your district?
How many curb extensions?
Yes, ma'am.
Not looking at too many curb extensions. Right now we're just looking at overall length, so that that person can have that walkability. That person can have that safe walk to work. Our school children can have that safe place to stand on the side of that, on the sidewalks. And early mornings when it's dark outside, like right now, we have a big problem with that. So those are all things that we're working towards. I'm very vocal about it. I have some excellent presidents of the civic leagues and the community association. So we're collaborative.
Yes, ma'am.
We talk about things. Again, I must say that, sometimes it's hard to talk to some people because they only want to hear what they want to hear, and that's not always possible. I have to follow the letter of the law. I have to go to a department head and ask them to clarify, verify, document what has been done. I do not make the rules and regulations for putting yellow lines on the road. I do not make the rules and regulations about public transportation coming into a corridor. I do not make those rules. Those are rules that are set forth by the Federal Traffic Administration. These are rules that are set by SCDOT and the Federal Highway Administration. So I do not make the rules. I'll try to change the rule, but I don't make them.
Exactly right. Speaking of which you're going a little bit off the frame a little bit, but what regional transportation partners would be ideal to be a part of the city's plan as far as adding sidewalks and all these other things?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I'm asking questions every day to try to ascertain what is the best route to take and what is the easiest route to take and what is the most uncomplicated route to take. In government, as you know, we could complicate a minute situation and make it a mountain out of a molehill. I use that expression all the time. So I'm really looking at county to help us to, navigate some of these paths. And Quintin, I'll tell you that I'm a person that I like to meet people and I like to use their expertise in getting things done. And that's what I have done this past 6 years, is try to meet people in certain places to try to get things done expeditiously.
And this might be off the record a little bit, but how do you, as a councilwoman, promote what the city and its residents will gain rather than what car users stand to lose?
What, Carter?
Yeah, how do you, as a councilwoman, promote what the city and its residents will gain from all of this rather than what car users stand to lose?
Well, our city has a long history prior to 50 years. Our city was maybe not the tourist attraction. Our city was the boots on the ground kind of people, the people who went to work every day, the people who used their pickup trucks for everything, from going to buy groceries to taking their kids to school to going on a hunting trip away from the city.
Right.
So I would like for us to kind of put everything on the table and see where we are and see the best route for this total togetherness.
Sure.
Okay. We've seen a lot of growth in the Tri-County area. So the one thing that I really would like to see, Quintin, and this is probably nothing anybody has said before, I hope, and I hope it's not, I hope it is something that somebody has said before, but we really need a Tri-County task force. Okay? That means that there will be somebody representing Charleston,
Sure.
North Charleston,
Sure.
Berkeley,
Yes.
Dorchester, and all the little
Yes.
outlying areas.
Yes.
So we could be, and I think the Council of Governors is really tasked with doing that, but I have not seen their work, so I cannot say exactly what they do.
Mm.
But I think there's a big disconnect. Charleston is talking about flooding, and we need to be looking at flooding also. We have some areas that are prone for flooding,
Sure.
and I can tell you that New Rider Road is one of them. We need to look at traffic. On any given day, that traffic can just block up everything that you want to do. We need to look at the fact that we have senior accommodations.
Sure.
We have the 55 and older communities. So how are those people being able to navigate back and forth to their doctor's appointment or to buy groceries? And some of them still go to work.
Right.
So how do they do that? We have people that have children that are in other schools that's not in a school in their neighborhood. I was fortunate enough to live in a community when I was growing up that we didn't have buses. We didn't ride buses to school. We would walk to school. And I was always jealous of those kids that rode the bus. But now I would just, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Right.
So those are the things. We need to put all of these things on the table and just see how we can connect the dots.
Sure.
And make it a win-win situation for communities, for our citizens, for commercial growth and development, for livability and quality of life.
And how does the city provide accessible pedestrian facilities for all due equity in public engagement, service delivery, that is, and capital investment?
I'm going to ask the mayor that question when I go in to speak with him later today.
Okay. No, man. No.
But I want to make sure that your audience understand that in the city of North Charleston, we have a strong mayor-council form of government. In a lot of the cities, and I did some research on this, in a larger cities, this is the recommendation. In smaller cities, you have administrators and all of that. It takes a lot of the movers and shakers, off the table. It kind of makes that community kind of grow, evenly.
Right. Sure.
So, in dealing with the form of government that we have in the city of North Charleston, we've come a long ways with that, and with being ordered as a city, from the governor down. We've come a long ways.
Yes, indeed.
But again, we've got to put that citizen livability and quality of life back into the equation.
I want to get back to that in just a second too, but has the city actually located any pedestrian network gaps as potential projects?
We don't have like a traffic manager or traffic director, so I'm not sure about that. We have our public works department that has a road team component.
Yes.
We have our city planners who are doing an excellent job, and they are able to gather the data to see exactly where a street is and what the needs are. But I'm not sure what they're doing in that area. Again, this is what that joint task force would do, and it would not only do it for one city, but it would do it for the tri-county area, so we can have, some kind of cohesiveness.
Sure. Where is there any sidewalk infill in your district?
Well, in the newer developments, and I got to tell you that in Baker's Plantation, because that is a newer subdivision, that they do have the great sidewalk connectivity, walking, and all of that. But now they have a speeding problem, so everything kind of jam itself together. The one thing I like about, Antler?
Oh, yes.
Antler can connect you from Green Ridge Road all the way over to Otranto.
Right.
So that is a good walking area. When I first came onto Council, there was not a sidewalk right in front of them, some of the apartments.
Right.
And let me tell you, we wheeled and dealed for a long time. And I finally met the right person who knew the right language, and we got it done. So that was a help for those people. So now with that connectivity from Otranto, from Green Ridge Road, all the way over to Otranto, that's good. But we've got to limb up that area and make it more comfortable and kind of clean it up. The other thing that I did for that walking roadway is we put out some trash receptacles along the way. So that kind of helped. But again, education is so important. Education is so important. I use the litter problem as, if you throw it out there, somebody has to pick it up. So who's going to pick it up? Who's going to pick it up? And that's what I want people to ask themselves when they're throwing litter. But I love that walkability from Green Ridge Road all the way over to Otranto. That is a plus, and a lot of people use that. And now in the Northwood area, again, we're going to have that connectivity from Green Ridge Road at Sandwood.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, right here at Sandwood, and it's going to go all the way down to connect us to that park. So all you'd have to do is cross the road. So I hope we're going to have a stop sign and all that.
Yes. That'd be amazing.
So that's what I'm looking at. You try to involve everybody in the decision making, but when you get about 10 people stirring the same pot, somebody is going to get left out, or somebody's going to put too much into that pot, and it's not going to be that same pot that you originally started out. The recipe will change. and most of the time when the recipe changes, it's not for the better. So we do that, and again, I rely heavily on the staff because they have the data, they have the connection with the different areas of concerns, like who are the contractors are. We have a contract person, so they have all of that expertise. By habit, by training, by everything that I do. I'm a healthcare provider.
Right.
Okay.
And you talk a lot about those connections. What are those new off-street connections that are in your district?
The new
off-street connections.
Well, I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
Off-street. Any off-street connections? Off of Green Ridge, off of Antler? Any off-street connections?
Well, we're looking at one area. No, those are the major thoroughfares that we're connecting right now. Again, a lot of the side streets, because they are off streets.
Yes.
Why did you not say side?
I'm so sorry.
So, because they kind of, flow right into the major arteries, so you'll have that walkability. And then it would encompass everybody. It wouldn't just be like, well, you're on my street. No, you're on a thoroughfare.
Right, exactly right. And where exactly are those right-of-ways when it comes to your district?
Well, so again, in Northwoods, okay, the right-of-way, and you mean in front of the residence property?
Right.
There is a right-of-way, and it's about, I'm not sure if it's 3 to 4 feet. So even though that person is cutting that grass or have, said there's still that right-of-way. If you go over to Northwoods right now, the cable company is installing these wires all over the place. So they're right in that right of way, and I guess they have to go down so many feet, but they are digging up a lot of, grass and stuff like that. But they have to replace it. So the same thing happened when you put in sidewalks. The right of way is adhered to, and then again, they will make it as whole as possibly can be.
And what zoning choices, Councilwoman Jamison, are ideal now to promote density?
Well, if you were living in New York City, if you were living in California, if you were living in any of those places, I guess density would be the word because they've done it for so long. And I'm not against growth. But and I'm very adamant about this, for North Charleston, South Carolina, we have not trained people to live in dense communities. Quintin, I'll tell you, one of the biggest problems is just the back and forth between the neighbors. Oh, you're on my property and you're on my yard. That is a big problem. Let me tell you, and these are not even dense areas. These are not apartment with a lot of, these are single family homes, fireworks. In a dense population, and you're firing fireworks, you can't control where that's going. The lady's house burned down. Well, not didn't burn completely down, but it was damaged to a year. They are having take a whole year to repair that home. So we have to look at density. Prime example of what happened in Houston, Texas. Prime example of what happened in Houston. You've got all of these people in an arena. The capacity was probably 25,000, so now you put 50,000 people in this arena. So where's the safety here? We have some little areas that is too dense. And the one thing I always tell our fire department is if they had like a catastrophic event, like we know that there are a lot of criminal elements out there, and that whole area just start burning. How are you going to get them out? How are you going to get those people out? So that's the thing I worry about with density. If you have a dense area, you've got to make sure that you've added that safety modality, that you've made sure that your police force can cover that area, that you do have that emergency egress.
Yes, ma'am. And you talk about safety and obviously health issues. What are those emerging health really conditions that are in your area, in your district, I should say, as far as concerns?
Well, like I said, we have an aging population, and now we're being offset by young people and children. And the aging population wants to be able to walk out of their home and walk down the street safely. Yes. Or that senior woman who's aging in place, she still want to be able to. This was a big upset for me. She still want to be able to walk out and get her mail, because this is her little exercise piece, going out there 3 times a day to do something. And so, but the mailbox was on the other side of the road, and there was a ditch. So the senior citizen was trying to navigate the traffic in the ditch and all of that, and she fell in the ditch. Well, she told the councilwoman about it, and I was not very pleased about that. So we started doing some other things. We asked the post office if they could change that, and they could, and so they did. And we were just out there the other day, and she was just so happy, about having to be able to still walk out to get her mail. Yes. She said, "But now we need to fix the ditch." I said, "Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am." I said, "But don't walk in the ditch. Just stay here." But and as you know, you fix one thing and there's something else. So we've got to be collectively fixing things simultaneously. The ditches, in someone's opinion, the ditches are more acceptable than having them, put the drain pipes in. I disagree with that. I think that the ditches need to be covered. In the 21st century, The ditches need to be covered.
And how should the city address stormwater problems while protecting the district's livelihood?
Well, if you pipe a ditch, then you don't have to come back and clean that ditch out, and that's more expensive than rodding a drain pipe. So throughout our city, and we do it fairly well, I just wish that we had more of a preventive plan for cleaning those drains out. But the areas that have the drain pipes, I have not heard of a problem. On my side, I live in Northwoods, on that side of the street, we don't have a problem. The problem we have is when the drain ditches are not scheduled for cleaning. And of course, they involve me in that too.
And when you look back at the sidewalk plan that the city has enacted, what will be the cost analysis for your district?
Well, like I said, what we when the staff came to me, they had about 17 items on the list, and for all of those 17 things to be done, it was astronomical. So just what we're doing, we're probably going to be a little bit over budget, or we're going to have to take something off, or whatever. But I think it'll cost a lot of money, Quintin, to make things whole when you didn't do it segmentally. It's going to cost a lot of money. As far as numbers, amount is concerned, I have no idea. I have none.
Now, what is the city's budget currently?
What is the city's budget?
Yes, ma'am.
How does the one thing that we have spoken about over the past 2 years is a capital improvement plan.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so that way every year there will be monies in that budget for capital improvement.
Sure.
If you look at certain areas of our city, that capital improvement would be ideal, because you will know what the needs are, and then you could prioritize the needier of the needs.
Councilwoman Virginia Jamison, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Quintin, you really do add to my quality of life just by allowing me to air my concerns, and I do applaud you. And I think you should maybe be looking for a job at PBS. Love your spirit, young man, and you will go far.
Thank
I have
you.
no doubt about it.
Thank you. God is great.
God is great.
Yes.